My travels had taken me and my predestined companion on the high road to Shrewsbury. I knew that George Farquhar would be waiting. I knew very little else, but it was quite enough knowledge for one day.
I think it's time I checked your credentials.
Of course. There's no room for secrecy in our relationship.
We haven't got a relationship. I know nothing about you. That's why I need to check your credentials. For example, you claim you were once a specialist question setter for Mastermind.
Not once, twice.
Prove it.
Easy.
Your name?
Diane Priest.
And your chosen specialist subject?
Pass.
The life and works of the dramatist George Farquhar.
Whatever you say.
Diane Priest, you have 2 minutes on the life and works of the Restoration dramatist George Farquhar, starting now. George Farquhar was born in Ireland in 1677. What was his father's occupation?
He was a behavioral psychologist.
No, he was a clergyman. What is the setting of the first scene of Farquhar's play, The Recruiting Officer?
Either the Forest of Arden or the marketplace at Shrewsbury.
The marketplace at Shrewsbury.
You've proved your point. Let's go to Shrewsbury.
I've started, so I'll finish. Stop the clock. I've 17 more questions.
You just love playing games, don't you?
Doesn't everybody?
No, as a matter of fact, they don't.
You mean they think it's real?
I believe you. About Mastermind.
So, you've checked and approved my credentials? Are we together now for all eternity?
Until lunchtime.
Is that car following us?
When you say following us, do you mean as in French Connection following us?
Yes. Might be those people who said they'd break your legs if you didn't leave town.
Shall I take spectacular evasive action?
I'd rather you didn't.
We arrived in Shrewsbury. Presumably the car that was following us did the same. Unless it wasn't following us. In which case, I imagine it arrived somewhere else.
You sit there and don't move till I get back.
Where are you going?
Pursuing our murder inquiries.
I could come with you. I could play Cagney. Or Lacey, whichever you prefer.
No. Sit down. Do not move. Do not pass go. Do not solve any anagrams.
Is it all right if I talk to strange men?
Only if they're very strange.
Nineteenth Hole Developments PLC.
This is Samantha. I telephoned yesterday.
Oh, yes. Come on up. Samantha. Come on in. It's my secretary's day off.
Oh, how very convenient.
How can I help you?
Oh, I'm here to help you, Mr. Rowley. I said as much on the telephone.
Indeed. I keep a record of all incoming calls. Company policy. Intimate executive massage to relieve managerial stress.
That's your Samantha.
When do we start?
Do you have managerial stress?
My God, you should see the books.
But I need a little more detail. And then I can decide which of my 57 infinite varieties of executive massage would best serve your personal needs, Mr. Rowley.
But sort of detail?
Well, let me try a little guesswork. It isn't your secretary's day off. You can't afford a secretary anymore, can you? Jack?
Check.
You and your company are victims of the collapse in the property market. Check.
Check.
Things are so bad, you can't even offer me a cup of coffee. Check.
There's a tea bag somewhere, if you don't mind sharing. It was a special offer.
Oh, I'm always game for a special offer.
She didn't take the kettle.
Never seen you here before.
I'm passing through.
Me? I sit here every day, dreaming my dreams of Gay Meadow.
Such stuff as dreams are made on.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Gay Meadow, the home ground of Shrewsbury Town Football Club.
You're an educated man. It shows in your cleanliness and your vowel sounds.
Thank you very much.
Do you dream dreams, my friend?
Oh, yes. When we first fell into conversation, I had been dreaming about George Farquhar.
George Farquhar?
It's a long time since he was in Shrewsbury, of course.
But I remember him.
You do?
He used to be in charge of the coracle at Gay Meadow.
The football ground?
The football ground's right beside the river, see? You're defending a one-goal lead. You play for time. You kick the ball into the river, don't you? And who gets it back again?
A man in a coracle.
Your friend.
George Farquhar.
He was definitely called George. I don't remember his second name. It's a long time ago.
Nearly 300 years.
But I can see him now, in his coracle.
And last year, you tried to buy land to build a golf course in the Brecon area, and a farmer called Griffiths refused to cooperate, Jack.
What's that got to do with intimate executive massage?
Oh, I think Mr. Griffiths caused you a great deal of executive stress one way or another.
Diversifying into golf courses wasn't my idea.
Oh, you were just carrying out orders, Jack.
Check. Well, no, yes.
Your shareholders' orders? Senior policeman's orders?
Yes. Speaking. Right. Get out!
We haven't got to the best bit yet. What about the healing power of my hands?
You've got nothing to do with executive massage. Check!
WPC priest. I'm a police person.
Priest!
Oh, you're not another one into anagrams, are you?
You're suspended from duty.
Who was that on the phone? Your parent company, Superintendent Butler of the Crime Squad, MI5, the Home Office.
Out! And take Samantha with you!
So, who did it? Was it the butler?
I don't know yet, but I do know a great deal more about 19th Hole Developments PLC. They're part of a huge consortium of companies. And they have people murdered.
You found all this in his filing cabinet while he was making the tea?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Of course, you didn't know I was a police person.
You had a cover story.
Hmm.
Oh, I've always wanted to meet someone with a cover story. What was it?
He thought I was Samantha, a specialist in executive massage therapy.
I've had a lot of pressure lately. I was recently made redundant, you know.
And you know something very funny about sex.
Would you like to know what it is?
I'll tell you when.
When is better than if.
You have to go to the Orkneys.
Not immediately.
– 2 rooms. 2
Well, ideally, I think...
2.
2. My companion is married, but not to me, whereas I'm divorced, but not from her.
And I'm separated, but not from him.
That's pretty straightforward these days.
Well, I put it all down to predestination.
Perhaps, and I don't wish to be brazen. 2 adjoining rooms with a connecting door. I used to see them in Cary Grant's films. What do you think?
A connecting door with a lock.
It locks from this side, see? I'll give you the key, dear.
Thank you.
You're very understanding.
You're a bullshit merchant, you are.
He is, isn't he?
You noticed.
We've had them all staying here in these rooms. Members of Parliament, captains of industry, the odd cabinet minister.
With their research assistants.
Adjoining rooms. Makes it more convenient when they need to discuss their agendas.
But politicians, they're professional bullshit merchants, aren't they? I do it for love. I'm an enthusiastic amateur.
Don't take it personally, sir. But enthusiastic amateurs are easily the most dangerous.
Thank you very much. You're very gracious.
Have a nice agenda, dear.
Hello?
Mastermind.
Excellent. And your chosen specialist subject?
You.
But you don't know anything about me.
You have 2 minutes starting from now. Your name is?
Oliver?
Birthplace?
A native of Derbyshire with tribal ancestry in the ancient kingdom of Northumbria.
Marital status?
Initially confused, later divorced.
When?
10 years ago on a Thursday.
Children?
No.
Reasons for divorce?
I didn't listen when she talked.
Was she right?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Stop the clock. Don't mess me about. This may be a game, but don't mistake it for a game.
Sorry, I thought it was a game.
Start the clock. Was your wife right to divorce you?
A very good judge. Yea, Daniel.
Is there one good reason why I should spend the rest of my life with you?
Predestination. It was written in the anagram.
Anything else?
I give generously on flag days. I pat dogs. Excluding Alsatians, I make friends with strangers. You've had 2 minutes.
No more questions. The more you tell me, the less I understand.
That's because you put your faith in information.
Well, what's wrong with information?
Well, in the words of my old friend T.S. Eliot, where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information?
Pass. Do you like to ask any questions about me?
I don't need to ask any questions about you. I know.
You expecting someone?
Probably the local vicar. Touting for trade.
I'm still married. Maybe the neighborhood divorce lawyer.
Could you call back later, please? You're interrupting a tender moment.
Remain seated.
But where will you sit?
I don't need to sit.
Are you sure you're in the right room?
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't you identify yourself?
I've seen public service announcements about that on television. Don't admit strangers without proof of identity.
I don't need to identify myself.
You wish to remain anonymous? You must be the man who telephoned me threatening to break my legs.
We don't play adolescent games of that kind.
We?
We don't telephone. We don't threaten. We do it.
You break legs?
If it's appropriate.
Look, is this going to take long? We've just checked in. I haven't even started to unpack.
I'm here with an instruction. Stop interfering. Stop making waves. Stop asking questions.
How can we live without questions? What time do they serve breakfast? Can we order a morning newspaper? To be or not to be, that kind of thing.
You know precisely what I mean.
Could you give us an example? And then we'll know what to beware of.
This morning in town, you were asking about Farquhar.
Yes.
Who is he?
A restoration playwright. A friendly ghost. Or possibly a man with a coracle who rescues lost footballs.
Quite so. They talk of little else in Shrewsbury.
Are you also asking us to keep our noses out of the Griffiths murder inquiry?
No, Mrs. Priest, I'm telling you. Out of the kindness of my heart and in your own best interests.
Would you like us to leave town as well? That's the normal arrangement, isn't it?
No, stay here, where we can keep an eye on you.
Is it all right if we go for a walk by the river later on?
That has to be your decision in a free democracy. Rivers can be very dangerous places.
It's cold in here.
So who was that man?
I don't know. He gave off a smell.
I disagree. I couldn't fault his personal hygiene.
Plain clothes, special branch, that kind of smell.
Oh, I see. You're speaking professionally.
CID, SAS, CIA, MI5, MI6.
MCC?
Just plain SS.
Gestapo?
Shifty sod. So, our immediate plan of action.
Well, I'd love to see a coracle, and then perhaps we could take tea.
Get the hell out of town, can't you?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
I realize you're speaking with the full power of the law, Constable, but you put us in a very difficult position.
Would you like to leave this to me?
1 minute, we're told not to leave town, then within the hour, we're told the exact opposite. It's very confusing. Could we ask him for proof of identity?
Police Constable Priest.
How extraordinary. My predestined companion is called Priest, and she's also a police person.
It's not extraordinary.
Bit of a coincidence.
No, he's my husband.
Ah. I see.
I've been following you.
In which case it isn't a coincidence at all, is it?
Not at all.
You make anonymous phone calls.
Don't be stupid.
It wasn't you who threatened to break my legs?
He's a policeman. Policemen don't say things like that.
Are you happy with this guy?
I've only known him a couple of days.
Seems longer.
But are you happy?
That is the question.
I'm not unhappy.
Thank you.
It makes me smile.
And I've grown accustomed to her face.
That's why I want you to leave.
Sorry?
I want you to be happy. I realize you can never be happy with me. Of course, I love you. I naturally hope you'll find happiness with someone else. But if you're going to be happy, for God's sake, go and do it somewhere else. Don't do it where I might see you. Or I won't be responsible for my actions.
I think he wants us to leave town.
So this has nothing to do with the Griffiths murder?
Stay away from the Griffiths case. Stay away from this area. Stay away from me.
You didn't tell me how popular you were.
We're not. Well, I'm not.
You popular?
Hardly at all.
People keep asking after you. I took the liberty of sending the first one up to your room. He said he was a close personal friend.
A total stranger.
I'm sorry. You don't mind if I join you?
Oh, not at all. We make friends easily.
We're short-staffed, out of season. You get dry rot in your legs.
Who else was asking after us?
There was a policeman. Claimed to be your estranged husband.
That was my estranged husband.
He seemed under a bit of stress. We never had stress when we were little, did we?
We were too poor.
However did we manage?
We had to make our own amusement.
Was anybody else asking after us?
A young man.
Do we know any young men?
Well, I used to know a lot of students, but I've said goodbye to all that.
Do you really want to see all these people?
Well, I've nothing against people in principle, but no, I don't. Do you want to see all these people?
No. Would you like to use my system?
What's your system?
Telling lies.
It has a pleasing ring to it.
I shall need false names for the two of you. The parliamentary gentlemen who stay here do it all the time.
In that case, I shall be Mr. Farquhar, traveling with his research assistant, Samantha. Can you handle that?
Easily.
It's crazy. It's total madness.
Madness is all anyone believes in these days. Can you blame them? Will you be eating in the dining room this evening?
Do you recommend it?
Definitely not. The chef's gone to a health farm and I'm doing the cooking. There's a nice Italian place just around the corner. Trattoria AC Milano. They're genuine Italian. From Wrexham.
Since I met you, nothing makes sense.
Before you met me, you were wrong. You only thought things made sense.
Oh, I see. You're the way, the truth, and the life.
No, we are.
Except the way leads round the bend. I mean, the truth is inside out, and the life's full of lunatics.
All I can promise you is confusion and one or two very old jokes.
What girl could refuse such an offer?
Practically all of them so far.
No, that's wrong. No, next on the right, she said.
I'm following the fire engine.
But I'm hungry.
I always follow fire engines. I've done it ever since I was a child.
That's where I was this morning. It's 19th Hole Developments PLC. It's their office.
I can understand it. One look at you. Spontaneous combustion.
Oliver.
Yes?
Button it.
My pleasure.
Clear the street. There are buildings which might collapse at any moment. Keep well back, everybody, please. There is nothing to see.
I thought you were leaving.
He likes following fire engines.
And you may argue there's nothing to see, but watching people work is always fascinating.
I told you to get the hell out.
What is it? An insurance job? Mr. Rowley cutting his losses?
Clear the streets. There is nothing to see. There are buildings which may collapse at any moment.
That's actually a contradiction. A collapsing building would be very interesting to see.
Why don't we clear the street?
And I think we have liftoff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Warm for the time of year.
Mind how you go.
What should we do? My estranged husband has ordered us to leave town.
And he's a policeman.
And the man with no name who came to our adjoining rooms said we mustn't leave town.
And he smells of Whitehall.
So what do? We can't do both. We can't leave town and not leave town.
We could disappear. According to official statistics, there are 1,600,000 people in this country who don't exist. They've disappeared from the public record. We can join them. Well, they're probably friendly, and 2 more won't make any difference. Wait!
And we have taken the first step.
Have we?
New names, new identities. Mr. Farquhar and his research assistant, Saman.
We're already halfway to disappearing.
Good. So, we disappear. And then what do we do?
We go to the Orkneys, find Aristotle.
Who's also disappeared. A toast to disappearances.
And we can see each other. It's only other people who can't see us.
Can I have a word with you two? I saw you through the window.
Well, that must have been before we disappeared.
Just before you what?
Take no notice. This is still the joke I was having with Mr. Parker.
Is it all right if I sit down?
Why not? We both enjoy it.
It's about my dad.
Do we know your father?
Well, we don't actually know you. It's a great pleasure to have you at our table, but...
The name's Kevin Griffiths.
Griffiths?
So your father was...
Murdered. A year ago.
I see.
And word got around that you two had been asking questions and such. And I just wanted to say thank you for trying. And watch it.
Are you close to your father?
Not very. He was a bit of a wimp. And all that crap about keeping the farm in the family. He hated being a farmer. Frightened of the cows, for one thing. Should have taken the money. Let them have their golf course. No, sold it now, like. Cleared off his debts. Poor bastard. No, he works hard all his life at something he hates. He ends up dead in a river, and for what? He breaks even. And that's why I want to know who did it. And the police are no good. They're under orders. And do nothing.
Why did you say to us, watch it?
We're talking heavy-duty villains.
In that case, we'll be careful to watch it.
I mean, murdering people is wrong, isn't it?
Most of the world's religions say thou shalt not do it. Some of them will kill you to prove the point. You said you'd stay with me until lunchtime. You've stayed until supper time, and now you've stayed with me until bedtime.
In adjoining rooms under false names.
Parts of it have been very good.
What happens next?
We set off at first light.
Is that all?
All my life, I've read stories where people set off at first light, and I've never done it.
And then?
After first light? Oh, I don't know. Second light, I expect.
And then?
The mystery. I know that in my blood. My father used to back horses.
I'll see you at first light.
You're a sensible woman. I need a sensible woman.
Don't we all? Good night.
Good night.
I've locked the door.
I said you were a sensible woman.
You could have fooled me.
We set off at first light. Our compass bearing was north by northeast, in partial homage to Alfred Hitchcock. We could have paid true homage by heading north by northwest, but that would have taken us into the Irish Sea. We all have to pay homage the best way we can.
You're going the wrong way.
Tell me the right way.
It's the M6, goes due north to Scotland.
Ah, but if we go that way, we miss the Great North Road.
Is that important?
The Romans thought so. Question. Is it the road that is great? Or is it the north that is great?
Am I supposed to say the north? The north is great.
We drove past strange-sounding places with faraway names. We drove through Lancashire and Yorkshire into County Durham, from black pudding to Yorkshire pudding to peas pudding. And on the Great North Road, we passed Hornby, Hackforth, and Fencott.
Hornby, Hackforth, and Fencott, the famous law firm.
Not to mention Little Fencott, of whom so much is expected. Now, no more jokes.
No more jokes.
I have to show you something.
What?
Second light.
This dirty old town was what the Welsh call the land of my fathers. In this case, my father and my mother and grandparents too. They were knocking it down, my dirty old town. But even so, it was the stuff many of my dreams were made on.
This is where my parents used to live.
You're the son of a coal miner?
I'm a living, walking stereotype. The working-class boy who passed his scholarship, was granted some state education, and made good.
Let me show you something else.
Do you know about Category D?
I imagine it comes after C.
It's a town planning expression.
I don't know many town planning expressions.
When they first started to close the pits in the southwest Durham coalfield, the villagers were all placed in Category D.
Which means?
It means the official planning policy is to do absolutely nothing.
They seem to have kept their word.
They did the same thing to my parents. They were put into Category D.
What about you?
I battled my way up to C+. Almost managed B-. But I know my place. My father lost his job here in the 30s. Went south. Found work in a colliery in Derbyshire. Lost that job in the 60s. Then he gave up and died. Corrosion of the lungs. Then my mother died. Corrosion of the soul.
You were born in Derbyshire?
I dreamed of bowling off spinners for the county, but the ball hurt my fingers. So I settled for comparative religion. It has a lot in common with cricket. This is where my parents went to school. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Hepburn Street Primary. Shall I tell you something very interesting about Hepburn Street Primary?
What?
Well, when I last counted, there were 412 Old Etonians in the House of Lords. But no one who attended the Hepburn Street Primary.
Nobody from my school either?
As my friend Shakespeare used to say, is it not strange?
I'll drive.
I'm the man.
I'm a police person. I passed the advanced driving test. Besides, I know where we're going.
The York case.
I have something to show you.
You can't do that.
I can't do what?
You're going south.
Not far. Just popping over the border into Yorkshire.
Why?
I want you to meet my father.
Your father? He lives...
Over the border in Yorkshire.
Is he a nice man?
I think so.
Is he retired?
He's a mason.
I don't know the secret handshake.
Not a Freemason. A monumental mason.
He's a big man.
He's very strong. Muscular.
I see.
If it goes well, I might ask you to tell me that very funny thing you know about sex.
I'd forgotten about that. What does that prove?
I can't imagine.
Hutton Conyers!
Don't tell me. It's a perfect anagram of I know something very funny about sex.
It's a famous name.
I know. My dad lives there.
Well, apart from that, a famous theatrical name. Jimmy James with Hutton Conyers and Bretton Woods.
I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. Is it a long story?
Not short.
Save it for a long winter evening.
Hello, love.
Hey, Dad.
Who's your funny friend?
This is Oliver.
Good afternoon.
And in relation to Vic?
If you remember Vic Oliver, you'll also know why Hutton Conyers is a famous name.
It's where I live.
Not only that.
Jimmy James. With Hutton Conyers and Bretton Woods.
Excellent.
God, you'll be talking about football next.
Come on, son. She can make us a cup of tea. I tell you what, Diane. If I'm not careful, I could end up liking this one. So, how you got rid of Sexton Blake?
The divorce is almost through. Next month, I'll be a free woman. Ho, ho, ha, ha, on with the fun.
Good. And how's that lad of yours? Is he working?
Selling hot dogs in Macclesfield, the last I heard.
Oh, that's not proper work. He's got a degree, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, in Macclesfield there's more call for hot dogs than there is for geology.
You have a son with a degree in geology? He must be grown up.
More or less. Bearing in mind that he's a male of the species.
Well, if you have a son, a grown-up son, I have no alternative but to believe you. But looking at you...
Oh, enough. You've used up today's allocation of bullshit.
Fine.
And where did you find this one?
In the police station, looking for his friend Aristotle.
Any joy?
He's in the Orkneys. That's where we're going now. That's where I'm going now. The rest is still on the negotiating table.
Plus we're on the run, being pursued by mysterious men and carrying out a murder inquiry. And I've been suspended from duty.
Oh, sounds all right, Motty. Top up.
May I ask you a very personal question, Mr. Delaney?
Certainly.
What's your favourite joke?
I'm sorry about my friend. He likes asking questions. He's twice been a specialist question setter for Mastermind.
You never ask, you never learn. What's my favourite joke? Oh, that's a fair question. Deserves a fair answer. I think it's the one about the horse that liked to sit on eggs.
Yes! I always enjoy that one.
Any more questions?
Yes. What became of Adrian L. Walsh?
Who's Adrian L. Walsh?
Well, he died, obviously. They reckon he was murdered. Did you know him?
No.
Well, he's a right bastard from all accounts. A merchant and a moneylender, so it probably served him right.
I couldn't help noticing. He's an anagram of Hadrian's Wall. That's where I'm planning to stay the night.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're welcome to join me.
I've never bothered much with anagrams himself. Stone. That's what impresses me. That and stone masons. Are you heading for the Orkneys?
To find Aristotle.
Well, have a look at the cathedral in Kirkwall. Built by the same masons that built all the great abbeys and cathedrals. Good masonry. Last forever.
I have questions that last forever.
Like what's my favourite joke?
To be or not to be. What are we all doing here?
And what we're doing here is waiting for the undertaker and the stonemason. In that order.
You didn't tell me your father was a philosopher.
You never asked.
Now, if you'd like to take a look around the quarry, I need a private word with my daughter.
I understand. I could commune with your stones.
That'll do you good.
What do you think?
It's a bit of a nutter.
So I'm on the road with a bit of a nutter. Who's heard of Jimmy James?
These things aren't made in heaven. Whatever the book says. Give him a couple of turns around the block. Send me a postcard. Let me know how you get on.
Mrs. Priest?
Do you have to do that?
A word, if I may.
Oh, go on.
Not here.
Call me sentimental, but I feel safer in the main street.
I have something to show you. And don't worry. I've always believed that violence should be an arm's length activity.
To make sure people get on with each other.
You.
Trouble at the chalk factory.
I wanted to show you this.
Well, the smart money says it's a grave.
Where the paths of glory lead.
May I go now?
He asked too many questions.
Who?
A man called Walsh.
Adrian L. Walsh?
You know him?
It's an anagram of Hadrian's Wall.
Correction. He was an anagram of Hadrian's Wall.
What happened to him?
The shotgun went off. He was in the line of fire, apparently. I simply need to know what you two are doing here.
We're waiting for the undertaker and the stonemason in that order.
I told you not to leave Shrewsbury.
My dad lives here.
Pull, if you'll pardon the vulgarism, the other one.
All right, then. We're unraveling a huge network of criminal conspiracy. Is that better?
That's more convincing.
It's not true. My dad lives here.
He does?
Mr. Delaney, the monumental mason.
I love happy families.
Diane! Diane!
What's all this about?
I lost you.
It's all right. I'm here. Is it that bad, losing me?
No, it was very much worse. Where were you?
I was looking at a grave with Mr. Baxter.
Oh, I see. No, I don't. Baxter? Mr. Baxter?
That's Mr. Baxter.
Please, may we run away?
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea.
We ran away as fast as my little internal combustion engine would carry us. As far as we could tell, nobody was following us. But that seemed to make it worse. Very odd.